All right, let's dive right into this explainer and uncover the hidden dangers lurking in a piece of tech that we, well, interact with almost completely on autopilot. I'm talking about those super convenient little black and white squares we see absolutely everywhere, QR codes. From grabbing a quick lunch to paying for a parking spot, they've really fundamentally changed how we access information, haven't they? But as we're going to see today, through some pretty startling data and recent intelligence reports, this sheer convenience has opened up a massive blind spot in our personal and corporate security. We're going to explore exactly how to protect your personal data when scanning these codes, because honestly, the threat is far more sophisticated than you might think.
So I want you to take a second and be completely honest with yourself. When was the last time you blindly scanned a QR code? Maybe it was at a coffee shop this morning or paying for a parking meter over the weekend. Did you even hesitate? Did you pause to check where the link was actually taking you? For most of us, the answer is a flat no. We just point our smartphone cameras and trust the process. And scammers and cybercriminals, they know exactly how conditioned we are to this seamless experience, and they are aggressively weaponizing our trust against us.
In this everyday trust, it can actually turn into a serious privacy violation incredibly fast. Take this recent incident from a restaurant in Pune, India. A customer simply scanned a QR code sitting on her table, just to look at the digital menu. But to view that menu, the digital portal asked her to type in her mobile number. Well, just a few hours later, she started receiving an absolute barrage of obscene messages. It turned out a waiter at that very same restaurant had accessed the digital menu system and just harvested her phone number. It's a perfect real-world example of how the simple act of trying to order food can inadvertently leak your most personal contact information to malicious actors hiding behind a totally legitimate-looking portal.
But of course, the everyday threats definitely don't stop at restaurants. Let's look at another incredibly common scenario: paying for parking. The New York State Parking and Transportation Association has actually raised the alarm about scammers literally walking around cities and pasting their own fraudulent QR code stickers right over the official ones on parking meters. So when you scan that sticker, you're not taken to the city's official parking app. Nope. You are redirected to a lookalike fraudulent payment site. You're typing in your credit card details, fully thinking you're paying for an hour of parking, but you are actually handing your financial data directly over to a cybercriminal.
Now, this specific tactic actually has a name. It's called quishing. Yeah, it's a mashup of QR code and phishing. It might sound kind of funny, but it's a real problem. As the FBI outlines, adversaries embed malicious URLs inside these images. But here's the critical part. The reason this is so ridiculously effective is that it forces the victim to pivot from a secure environment like your heavily protected corporate laptop onto a personal, unmanaged mobile device. You see, you can't easily hover over a QR code to preview the link like you can with a regular email link. You're basically forced to scan it first to see what it is.
And if you're sitting there thinking this is just some fringe issue, well, the data tells a totally different, kind of terrifying story. According to Microsoft's Threat Intelligence Report, QR code phishing attacks absolutely exploded in the first quarter of 2026. Just look at the trajectory here. We go from 7.6 million attacks in January, jumping to 12.1 million in February, and then reaching a staggering 18.7 million attacks in March alone. That is a massive 146% increase in just a few months. Threat actors are mainly using PDF attachments and emails to deliver these codes, though lately, they're increasingly embedding them directly into the email bodies to completely skip the need for you to even open a file.
So who exactly is behind these millions of attacks? You'd think it's just opportunistic thieves in parking lots, right? Well, not exactly. The FBI issued a flash report warning that North Korean state-sponsored cyber actors, specifically a group known as Kimsuki, are actively utilizing quishing. They've literally been caught targeting U.S. and foreign government entities, think tanks, and academia. They send out emails spoofing foreign advisors or embassy employees, asking for input on human rights issues, and they'll include a QR code, supposedly to give access to a secure drive or a questionnaire.
Okay, so let's break down exactly why advanced actors, like state-sponsored hackers, prefer this method over just sending traditional email links. It's quite clever, actually. If a hacker sends a traditional malicious text link in an email, enterprise security systems, URL inspection, sandboxing, rewriting tools, they're going to catch it and block it. But a QR code, it's just an image file. It completely evades text-based scanning engines. Actually, it just sails right past them. The malicious payload isn't triggered until you, the user, pull out your smartphone and scan the image, which entirely bypasses the robust security perimeter of your corporate network.
And that bypass technique, it's really just step one in a highly sophisticated attack chain, which the FBI mapped out using the MITRE ATT&C quishing lifecycle. First, we have the QR delivery, which is often disguised as a fake invoice or an urgent alert. Step two is fascinating.
Mobile fingerprinting. The attacker's system quietly collects your device's operating system, IP address, and screen size. Why? Because in Step 3, credential harvesting, they want to selectively present you with a fake login page that is perfectly optimized for your specific mobile screen. They want to make it look exactly like a legitimate Microsoft 365 or Okta portal. And finally, we arrive at Step 4, session token theft.
Now, this is the absolute kicker. Understanding that final step is absolutely crucial. The ultimate goal of these advanced phishing campaigns isn't just to casually get your password. They want to steal your entire cloud identity without sounding any alarms whatsoever. Platforms like Tycoon2FA, which Microsoft noted as a massive phishing-as-a-service ecosystem, utilize what's called adversary-in-the-middle techniques. So, when you type your password and approve your multi-factor authentication on their fake mobile site, they intercept the resulting session token. This allows the hackers to replay that token and log in as you, entirely bypassing your MFA. And the worst part? It never even triggers an MFA failed alert to your IT department.
All right, knowing how incredibly sophisticated this invisible threat is, how do we actually defend ourselves? Well, the core mantra you really need to remember is pause, verify, protect. Before you scan any QR code out in public, you must pause. Don't rush. The Federal Trade Commission explicitly notes that scammers intentionally create a false sense of urgency, like telling you a package couldn't be delivered or that a payment is late, just to make you scan it without thinking.
So, let's get super practical for a second with some everyday best practices to verify QR code authenticity. First up, physically run your finger over the QR code at a parking meter or a bus stop. Is it a sticker pasted over the original sign? Because legitimate codes are seamlessly printed right into the signage. Second, always preview the URL your phone's camera app displays before you tap it. Make sure it actually matches the business you are at. Third, keep in mind that parking apps are always free. If a site is asking for payment just to download the app, it's 100% a scam. Fourth, if a restaurant menu asks for your camera or location permissions, deny it immediately. There's no reason for that. And finally, if you want zero risk, just ask the restaurant for a physical paper menu. Simple as that.
Now, real quick for the business owners and IT professionals tuning into this explainer, the FBI highly recommends a multi-layered security strategy to stop those devastating session token thefts we talked about earlier. You really need to deploy mobile device management, or MDM, to analyze QR-linked URLs before they even load on company phones. You absolutely must upgrade to phishing-resistant MFA, things like physical FIDO security keys or Windows Hello, which are specifically designed to thwart those adversary-in-the-middle attacks. And finally, make sure you are actively logging and monitoring network activity so you can catch anomalies immediately after an employee accidentally falls for a scan.
So, we've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, haven't we? From compromised restaurant menus and fake parking meters all the way to state-sponsored hackers bypassing corporate security. Look, the technology itself isn't going anywhere. It's simply too convenient for our everyday lives. But our blind trust? That absolutely has to change. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you see a highly convenient QR code asking for a quick scan, will you pause and verify where it leads, or will you just blindly scan your personal data away? Stay safe out there, stay vigilant, and always inspect before you connect.